check this out. Because I got the adapter for the lens on this camera, this is my new rig for the Blackmagic camera. It's pretty large, it's pretty hefty, but this thing is gonna serve me well when I'm shooting movies. So last night we got about 20-ish centimeters of snow, which means today is definitely an indoor day. And because today is an indoor day, I want to take some time to share with you guys a story of mine. This is more specifically the story of how I lost 60 pounds. Editing Carter here. After doing some pretty basic math, really, 215 down to 135 is actually 80 pounds, not 60. So in 6 months, I lost 80 pounds in 6 months. This is the first kind of personal story that I'm sharing on YouTube, but I'll try to go into as much detail as I can. So where do I even start? Basically, as a child, as a wee little lad, I used to be overweight. I guess it was a combination of eating too much, not getting any exercise at all, mostly because of video games, and then I don't want to blame a single video game, but mostly because of Skate 3. That right there is me at 13 or 14 years old. Keep in mind, I'm 17 right now. I think body image, especially in terms of like body weight, is an issue for a lot of people, and it was definitely for me. I was super duper self-conscious, and pretty much everyone, anything that ever said to me, I would just overthink it completely, and it got to a point, it was so bad where I would just start kind of eating my feelings instead of actually doing anything about it, which is probably the most dangerous point to be in something like this. Because of how self-conscious I was, anytime anyone even brought a camera near me, I would just immediately be like, no, what are you doing? Please do not take my picture. So I only have a couple photos of me when I would say I was at my heaviest. This is one of them. This is a photo from a cruise that I was on in 2019. It was a March break cruise. The catalyst that was my whole fitness weight loss journey, I remember it very vividly. November 9th, 2019, I was at my friend's house. We were watching the KSI versus Logan Paul rematch fight, and my friend had a scale in his basement. And at this point, I don't think I had weighed myself for about 6 to 8 months. And so we were weighing ourselves to see how much we weighed, you know, like normal teenage boy things. I remember stepping on the scale and it said 215.4 pounds. That number really shocked me. I really didn't even know how to react when I saw that, because that's like the highest number I have ever seen on a scale with myself stepping on it ever. But I knew one thing was for sure, like my life needed a big change, and not even just a temporary change, a lifestyle change. The first thing I remember doing when I got home that day was going online, and more specifically Reddit, and you should not go on Reddit for advice, but I did. I went to this subreddit called True Lose It, which is like a weight loss subreddit, and then I immediately joined the subreddit, and then I was just scrolling through the posts, and a lot of it was people who have tried some form of weight loss for years and they haven't succeeded, and sort of the main reason was they just weren't committed enough. I knew that I did not want that to be me. I knew that I was going to 100% commit to pretty much whatever I was going to do to try to lose this weight. And then I started getting really into, like, over the next couple of weeks, I started looking into, like, what's the best method of weight loss, and I started really trying to figure out if there was, like, a cheap, easy way to do it, and it turns out that diet and exercise is pretty much free, and there's one exercise that's especially free, which is running. All you need is a pair of running shoes, and you could pretty much run anywhere you want. I went on the running subreddit, and then I immediately found this image, and it was like 30-day guide from walking to running. And let me tell you, this was my savior. This was like, okay, I have the first 30 days of this. It was already mapped out for me. I didn't need to do any other work besides just go on the treadmill and start doing it. And so on my birthday, December 11th of 2019, I pretty much hopped on the treadmill for the first time ever. I have to be honest, running for the first time was very, very hard. There's not really any shortcut to getting good at running. It's kind of just you go at a walking pace, and then you just eventually run 1 minute, then the next day 2 minutes, the next day 3 minutes, the next day 4 minutes. And 30 days into this walk-run program, I was running for like solid 5-minute chunks every single day. which might not seem like a lot, but it was a lot to me. And eventually, I think by the end of this running program, I think I was down about 10 pounds. Now, I'm not going to go into depth about how losing weight works, but you basically just have to lose more calories in a day, burn more calories in a day than you eat. And running is a great way to burn a lot of calories. But it took me 1 month to lose the first 10 pounds. The first significant change I noticed in my body was that my double chin, you could say, was kind of gone. This happened about 2 months in, about 20 pounds down. And by that time as well, it was about February, March-ish, so it hadn't snowed in a few weeks. And so I decided to go for an outside run for the first time ever, and it blew my mind. I almost never want to use a treadmill ever again in my entire life after running outside just once. Running outside is the most peaceful thing ever. Your mind gets so cleared. It was around March as well where I had hit the 35-pound loss mark, which was halfway through my journey. I was kind of aiming at like 140 pounds-ish. And this was the point where I really started to lean into the diet and food side of losing weight instead of just running to burn extra calories. Now, I just want to say for the record, I am no means a dietitian, a nutritionist, or anyone you should really trust for medical dietary advice. But with that in mind, this is what I did to achieve these results. At this point, I had read about a bunch of different diets online, and I'm not sure I really wanted to follow something like keto where you only eat specific foods. I was more or less just looking to consume less calories than I was currently. This eventually evolved into me eating nothing but yogurt with granola and honey for breakfast, no lunch, and then for dinner, just a protein shake. I do not recommend this at all, but this was around 4 to 5 months into me doing this, and I was kind of shocked at how fast I was losing weight ever since I started eating less. I did not stop running at all during the dieting phase. However, I did start running more, which is probably an even worse thing if I come to think of it. I want to say I was doing 10 to 15 kilometers every single day, which was about 700 to 800 calories like burned from just running in a day. I was also trying to eat that exact amount. That way my net calories for the day was 0, which is probably the stupidest thing I have ever done. That is legitimately malnutrition / starving yourself. Super duper unhealthy mindset to have. We have a body fat percentage scale at my house, and I was using it pretty much this whole time, and so my peak of this 6 months in pretty much, I was down about 70 pounds from where I started. And I remember my friend Victor and I were gonna go downtown that day to go take some pictures for Instagram, and I did one last check of my body fat percentage. This was, again, super unhealthy mindset I had at the time, but the number that came back, I think it said 4.3%, which is stupid low. That's definitely not healthy. That was definitely not healthy, but I do have some photos of myself from that day, and here they are now. This is what I think I was 130 pounds or so, 135, and keep in mind I was, I think, 6'1". In these photos, I'm like 6'2" now. 6'1" at 135 pounds is extremely unhealthy. But now I am a more mellow 152 pounds, and definitely not even remotely close to as low of a body fat percentage as I once was. But I would argue that where I am right now is even healthier than where I was. I know it sounds kind of corny, but I kind of realized something throughout my entire journey through all this, which is that it doesn't really matter what other people think of you. And I've kind of come to realize that now, especially with making videos. I don't really care at all what other people think of me. I only care what I think of me, and I think that's the most important thing. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna rinse it. This is probably the most personal video I've made. I only have like 12 or 13 videos on my channel, and this is one of the only stories I have, really. I'm only 17, haven't really done much in life yet, so I don't really have that many cool stories or interesting stories or personal stories. This is, you know, one of my most personal stories I have, I think. But it's also something that I kind of wanted to share. so you guys can learn a little bit more about me. Sorry for clickbaiting the title, but you kind of gotta do what you gotta do on YouTube. If you made it this far in the video, comment something about hats or something. I just want to see how many people get it this far. But thank you for listening, and have a great day.